Alright, and I'm finally starting. Actually, I might have to figure out everything else because I am terrible at what I do currently. Oh boy, this is, not my favorite thing. This is just something, I guess, is a part of what I always have to do. Okay, it's up there. I have to figure things out. My very first time. It's never fun for me sometimes, so it's always interesting getting back into this. I had to take a break on Friday for myself because I forgot about it for a minute. In reality, it's fine. So, let's actually get into this. Hi, I'm Emmi. Well, Emmi Labyrinth, I should say. And currently, my topic is about Victor Frankenstein. So, he is an infamous college dropout, which is kind of my favorite thing about him. He's kind of crazy, he's kind of weird. So, I wanted to kind of explore a little bit more into his own personality, kind of doing more of a in-depth like character analysis and looking over him as like a character. I do have some questions prepared for myself just to kind of keep going and keep rolling because my god, am I blabbering? But it's fine. So something that I find interesting about Victor Frankenstein, let me just start off, is that he is a mad scientist and he is the first of the kind in the mad scientist genre by Mary Shelley, because Mary Shelley really hit a different mark when writing Victor Frankenstein. She went over so much more in depth of this character than a lot of people probably have seen, and he has so much of the anxieties of that time period, which is amazing, as well as kind of the fear of more modern technology and what's being produced, what's happening. And I find it so fascinating that she was able to capture more and more of that in her Frankenstein, and how Victor really encapsulates the time period of fear with the Industrial Revolution on the rise. I just really find it fascinating with everything. So, I'm kind of be more talking about that stuff. I might stumble over some of my words because right now I'm kind of nervous. I don't know why. I really shouldn't be, but I am. It's my little brain. It's my brain being a little special right now. But, I just really wanted to talk about this because Victor has been a really fascinating character for me to look into. I really enjoy reading the books, but my favorite movie currently is Young Frankenstein, and I just love the portrayal of the like mad scientist-esque type in Gene Wilder, who plays him, because I just love it. And also Igor is hilarious in the entire scenes and it just makes me laugh the entire time. And something that I really enjoy about it is just like learning more about it and watching more as it grows and as it continues. You see him change and you see different things happen within the story. I'm so sorry, I'm like, it's so hard for me to explain sometimes and put into words because I absolutely love like the comedic sign that Gene Wilder comes to the role of Victor Frankenstein, who's kind of like this, oh Victor, he's like this really special genius, and it's like, no, he's stupid. He's supposed to be stupid. He believes in pseudosciences and everything, and that's why he dropped out of college, because no one believed in him or his works or anything. So for me, Victor is very interesting in that perspective of like, no, he's the stupid boy. He can't do anything right sometimes. So it's like, you kind of look at this more and more, and it's like, no, I think there's more going on than anything. But honestly, I'm kind of blabbering right now, so let's kind of get more into it. I have some questions that I have for myself, again, as I talked about. And something that I found interesting is like, what really motivated Victor Frankenstein to pursue his scientific endeavors, like particularly like the creation of life. Like why did he really choose to do this? Because it was a stupid mistake from that man, because he ended up just playing right into the deadbeat father archetype that he is, and how we kind of like see him today. Oh god, real quick. My entire life flashed before my eyes and I think I died. Oh god. Oh, this is not my favorite day. I will be very honest with you. I am having a particularly hard time enunciating and figuring out what my brain is doing today. And I feel very, very tired and very annoyed at myself that I didn't do this video earlier, or do this live stream, I should say, earlier, because I wanted to do it earlier. If that makes sense, I wanted to do it earlier. I really did. And I'm just feeling annoyed. I'm feeling so annoyed right now, and kind of ashamed. Not to be like, oh, this is fun, you know? So I'm just like, oh, gotta recenter, you know? Just really gotta get back into it. Again, I'm like, I'm very new, as you can fucking see. You know, it's very hard to be doing this sometimes for me, so I'm like, ooh, haha. Gotta get back into it. But I wanted to talk about, like, what particularly went into Victor thinking that the creation of life would really, like, set him up and be more of, more than just a fantasy, more of like a what's happening, what's going on. But I really think that it was the books his father gave him. So I'm referring to the books specifically right now. The books that Victor Frankenstein was given by his father, well, not really given, he was more so in his study and his father's study, looking around, and he found these different books and of different scientists that he looked up to, and he was looking into this creation that they were talking about, and he was looking and pursuing that knowledge, and he wanted to learn more. In reality, those scientists, those hacks, as probably a lot of his most of his professors were like, you are listening to fakes and hacks and you do not know what is going on. And it's just an entire mystery that's kind of going on with Victor and his entire life. It's like his basis for his own knowledge is looking into these scientists and looking up to them, and then once he goes to his college, it is torn apart by his professors and by his peers, and just, it is heartbreaking for him. And I think he wanted to prove people wrong. That's what his endeavors were, to prove the people who doubted him wrong, which I think he did a really good job, I should say. It's really hard to be like, yeah, he did a really great job proving the scientific community wrong, when in reality, he was a stupid college kid who was a grave robber and kind of just picked it up from there and was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And I think it's really interesting from that perspective if you're looking into more things. And the more we kind of see from Victor, the more we like acknowledge and know about him and see from him. Like, it's so interesting and fascinating to me, like watching more and more things that happen with him. But the other thing is that since these pseudosciences like really got him into it, he was like, you know what, I'm really interested in this and I want to learn more about this. And so after proving his professors wrong, he realized the mistake that he made. And that mistake was that, again, he would be a deadbeat dad, and he did not realize that the creation of life is so more complex than what he originally found. Like, he had no idea what he was truly getting into with what he found. And something that I think is interesting is, like, how does Victor's childhood really, like, experiences and upbringing kind of, like, contribute to, like, the character himself and the decisions that he makes later in life by making Adam. And if you don't know, Adam is the name of the creature in Frankenstein. It is not Frankenstein, it is Frankenstein's monster. Frankenstein is Victor Frankenstein. Just to clear that up a little bit if anyone had any confusion, because I know I did when I first started reading it at one point. But these childhood experiences that he really does have are immensely traumatizing. His mother dies when he is very young, and I believe that he is very frail. I'm trying to, like, go off memory right now, but he's pretty frail as a young child, and his mother had such a warming heart that she even took in a little girl. I'm forgetting the girl's name. I don't know why, but I'm mostly focusing on Victor here and not really anyone else, but I'm trying to figure out more of his family and things and dynamics. But it's interesting to look into it because his mother ends up adopting a girl who will eventually be Victor's wife. And if that's not trauma already, I don't know what is. Imagine your mother dying and then promising you to this younger girl. She's like, you're gonna be my Victor's, and you're going to get married, and this is what's going to happen. And it's just kind of funny to me to think, like, really? Really? This is what Victor's mother, like, her promise to him is this woman, like, is this child? He's promised a child and everything. And so, as we see this kind of dynamic go into it, he really does believe that this girl is going to be his future wife. And you can kind of see more into his, like, decisions of his own anxieties of, like, I can't go back home because, well, first, he's a college dropout. He drops out of that college because they did not believe in him, and they did not believe in his practices or anything that really happened. So it's interesting what really kind of goes on behind the scenes, and then also what can really be Victor's obsession with all of this. Like, what is this? And again, I think I can go back to he wanted to prove his professors wrong. He wanted to prove his family wrong. He wanted to be a name written down in history forever as a great scientist who discovered life. And the truth in the matter is, he didn't do anything that important. He created a monster that no one understood, and he didn't understand it himself. I think another thing that we can talk about is that the parallel between Adam, which is again the monster, and Victor, it's kind of like how they parallel each other. Victor and his anxieties, and then you have Adam, the perfect man. Well, not really, if you would really want to say that. Something that I've found with Adam is that he is very intelligent. He is very good looking, which is surprising because you are built of rotting flesh and different body parts. So it's a little weird, but it's fine. And the more you look into it, the more you kind of like realize what really happened between Victor and Adam. I know I'm rambling and it doesn't seem like I have a point, but I have a point, I think. Again, this stream was very rushed for me because I wanted to stream it earlier today, and then I put it off, and I put it off, and I procrastinated, and it was not great. So I think I'm not even really making a point here. I'm just talking about what I find interesting in the book and what I find more and more interesting. The next time I ever do these, I promise you I will do a lot more into this and have more prepared. I really just thought, you know what? I know a lot about this topic and I can talk about it all for a really long time because I can rant. Oh my god, can I rant if you want to hear that? I can rant about so many things, but sometimes it's hard to rant because I'm by myself, and that's perfectly fine. I'm just gonna air out everything to a camera, so that's going to be fun for me tonight. I hope you like it. If you don't, that's okay too. I don't like it either. I'm kinda like, you know what? Maybe I'm not liking it either. I'm just trying to think. I'm like, what do I really want to talk about with this? It's like, it's really hard for me to really put in perspective what Victor is feeling with his anxiety. I mean, this man took 2 weeks to write, like, to recover from a letter. He's like, I have to rest for a fortnight because he's let me just clarify. Victor is dramatic. He's dramatic, and we love a dramatic boy. But sometimes you be a little too dramatic, if you get my drift. So he's a very eccentric, very dramatic man. And again, he is alone in a different... He is very far away from his home right now. And he's in his college, and he doesn't know what he's doing with his life because he has been butting heads with professors. He has been doing things very, very, very badly. And with his own anxieties, he's created a monster, a quote-unquote monster, that he doesn't even know how to take care of. He cannot take care of Adam in a healthy manner, which is understandable because he created life and he did not know how to treat that life. And that's what I think is interesting about Victor, is that he did not know how to handle Adam, because Adam, even though he is smart and intelligent and even at times smarter than Victor, when he was first created, he was a child. And you want to know something funny? Is that I really like the Rocky Horror Picture Show for this great example of this with Rocky. If you don't know the Rocky Horror Picture Show, it is a 1960s movie. It's a spoof on the mad scientist trope in movies and science fiction tropes and everything. But I will say they did a really good job portraying the quote-unquote monster that the mad scientist Frankenfurter develops. And in that development, Rocky is like a child. He cannot speak, he doesn't really understand anything, and it's very hard for him to wrap his mind around being born. And I think that really helps me kind of justify what Adam was feeling, because it's very hard, because we don't get too much into the character of Adam at first. From what I know, like, you don't really get to know much. From what I've read, you really don't get to know much about Adam. All you really know is that he's escaped from Victor and he's heading back to Victor's home. And that is something that's very scary. And a little bit of a spoiler of the book, what happens when Adam escapes is he ends up killing Victor's younger brother, which they end up blaming the maid for it, and it's a whole debacle in itself with the handmaiden being like the nursemaid being blamed, not the handmaid, I'm like the nursemaid being blamed for his death because she has a locket, and then you have things happening more and more, and Victor has to come home and deal with it. But you kind of see him in this recklessness of, he just abandons Adam, and he doesn't know what to do. And Adam, Adam as a creature, I am defending him because he did not know better. He did not know that he would kill a child. He did not know that he could do that. I think it's interesting that when you look into it. Also, I really like that Mary Shelley picked the name Adam for the creature because it's the name of the very first man. And so for Victor to create life and name his creation Adam is very symbolic with what's happened in like religion and things like that, with Adam being the first man and it just being like symbolizing, because obviously not obviously, but when Mary Shelley was alive around the 1900s, growing up very religious, it makes sense that she would draw these types of parallels in her literature and other things from life. And kind of delving from Victor for a little bit, I want to talk about Mary Shelley because she is she was just amazing. I just love Mary Shelley. But besides Mary Shelley, there's Percy Shelley. And Percy Shelley is very interesting because I feel like his death was very good for her. She was held back by Percy, who told her that her writing was not good enough to be published and to be worth reading. Because if we look at the timeline, Percy Shelley himself was a poet and a writer, and he looked down on Mary Shelley for wanting to write herself, which is insane because, as we know, I'm 100% sure you don't know too much about Percy Shelley, and you might know a little bit. You might know a little bit about Mary Shelley. A lot more than you would know Percy. But it's just so fascinating because ever since Mary Shelley was even a young girl, she would love to write, and she loved it so much, and she was even able to share her writing with Lord Byron, who was, I believe, a close family friend with her father. And I just think it's amazing that she was able to do that at all and be able to share things like that with a great poet in the 1800s. Such a great poet. I love Lord Byron for no apparent reason, but I do love his poetry, and I love his daughter, Ada Lovelace, who is actually one of the very first. She actually built the first computer, technically. I gotta say technically because this is, again, 1900s. Technically. But it's interesting looking at, like, the history of things, and you can see where things go. But I want to talk about one more thing about Percy Shelley because I love his death. So, Percy Shelley is kind of a scoundrel, if you couldn't already tell by me telling you that he did not support Mary Shelley in her writing. He actually cheated on his first wife with Mary. And what ended up happening was, after that, his first wife ended up offing herself by the way of drowning. Now, this is very ironic. For the next 7 years, Percy and Mary have not the best marriage, but they do have a more happy life, having, I believe, 2 to 3 children. I'm saying 2 to 3 because I'm pretty sure one of them died pretty early on, or 2 of them at least died pretty early on. But the most my fact is, I think they only had 1 child live. They had 3 children, but 2 of them died, and 1 of them actually survived into maybe adulthood even. Yeah, I think adulthood, because I remember I'm over here like, yes, I gotta pull all my facts out of my brain, and we'll actually see if they're correct later. I know one of them was buried with Percy Shelley's quote-unquote heart, but we'll get to that. So, the irony of Percy Shelley's death is that he actually drowned in a boating accident. The boat had tipped over, and he had drowned in a lake, and the only thing that they were able to recognize him by was by a copy of a poetry. I don't remember the poetry book, but he always carried a copy of this poetry book on him, and the only way they could actually really identify who he was by that book, because they knew he was going on a boating trip and that he always carried that specific poetry book with him. And then I just think it's very ironic that his first wife died, and that he ended up dying the same exact way. I mean, I guess he got his in the end. But the most fascinating thing with Percy Shelley is that they believed that his heart, I'm gonna say quote unquote heart though, was basically like crystallized, but in reality they believe that it was actually might have been his liver. But the importance of his heart/liver was that Mary Shelley was able to keep it. She kept it, and she actually kept it in a drawer with his, oh sorry, my throat's kind of bubbling up. She actually kept it in a drawer. I'm gonna keep talking about this for a while. She kept it in a drawer, wrapped in his poems and things, and different writings. And it's so funny, because people are like, how romantic, and I'm like, how horrifying. Just imagine thinking like, oh, you want to see what's in this drawer? It's my husband's heart. Honestly, I would kind of gloat and be like, look who's dead. Look who I got rid of. And just like different things. But she was actually able to publish Frankenstein after he was dead. Well, actually, she wrote it after he died, which is kind of ironic. Because we kind of see a little bit of in her writing of Frankenstein, of death, of things that she's probably had to experience in her own life. Because, my god, did they die of just about everything back then. Everything, oh my goodness. Imagine getting a common cold and just flatlining right then and there, and you're dead. It's interesting. I think it's a little funny, because I'm like, I could never imagine that today. I could never imagine just dropping dead because of the flu. Or imagining that doctors didn't wash their hands until the 19th century. No, actually, it wasn't the 19th century, it was the 20th century. Have fun with that knowledge. It kind of boggles my mind still. I'm like, let me just tell you about this little fact here, and I'm going to disturb you to your core. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that doesn't disturb you. But imagine, like, just being, oh, whoa, okay, I can't even imagine it. I'm just like, someone touching you, and just, oh. It's just, I'm imagining how bad periods are. Like, just how bad, like, hygiene and things were in those types of periods, and I'm just thinking how disgusting it would be for a doctor to touch you. Oh, and just, like, perform medical, like, no, I'm not thinking about it tonight. I'm gonna have nightmares. I'm gonna give myself nightmares. Alright, so getting back actually into the topic of Frankenstein and not just of Mary Shelley. Something I think is interesting is like, in what ways I would say is Victor's obsession with knowledge and ambition kind of like drive him to the brink of madness? Like, how does this really get to him? Like, how does this really drive someone to the brink? And I think it's his anxiety. He is such an anxious boy. Like, take, for example, different things that have happened. He's anxious because his creature gets away. He faints on his bed and he's like, I can't even deal with this today. And it's just the amount of ridiculousness that kind of happens with him. And things that are just, like, kind of atrocious at this point. It's like, if I feel like he can really exhibit signs, because I just so you know, I dabble in psychology sometimes. Just so you know. But like, he has a very unhealthy obsession with knowledge and wanting to learn more about things and doing things. For myself, I can definitely relate to that. This is a little bit of an embarrassing story. So let me tell you that. I'm like, it's embarrassing, but it's fine. There are these plushies that I really love, and they're called like 20 centimeter cotton dolls. And I love them. They're absolutely gorgeous. Like, they can be based off of anime characters, they can be based off of K-pop like people. I was about to say characters. I'm like, no, those are real people. Those are real people. I gotta remember that. But like different things, and they just look so adorable. But the thing was is that I became very obsessed with them. I could not stop thinking about them for some reason. I either had to make one or I had to buy one. I ended up buying one for, I don't even want to tell you how much I bought that thing for, because he's very small, but he's very lovable and cuddleable. Okay, I'm not even gonna try to say that. But he's very cute and cuddly, and I love him. But the thing is that I see that in myself with Victor, like kind of like seeing that just obsession that I can't sleep at night until this is done. I need to do my research. I need to figure things out. I need to connect the dots. If I don't do this, I am going to go insane. And that is how he goes to the brink of madness with his obsession with his creature. He drives himself just looking for answers, looking for different things that he can do. And it's so crushing to me, and I love it. It's one of my favorite things about him, is that he just slowly like snowballs into this madness of like darkness, and he's like, I can't sleep because I'm fearful that he's going to hunt me down. I need to hunt him down first, or I need to create him because I have this need for it. Because eventually he does need to hunt Adam down, because he's crazy. He is crazy. And then also, here's the other question that I also have is, can Victor's actions really be justified in any way? Or are they just selfish and reckless? Like, how do you expect a man to do these things? It's like, how can you justify him creating life and abandoning it? If I can enunciate, that would be great today. But it's just like, just abandoning that life form and seeing how it can handle on its own. It's like, I feel like he was very selfish in that fact, because he did not have the goal to take care of a child, and he made one from scratch. Let alone, he made a grown man from scratch. There is no way. That's just selfishness there. Because he wanted to prove himself right. He wanted to prove everyone wrong, in a sense. And that is what he did. He did his best. He did his damnedest to prove people wrong. And by doing that, he sent himself into a darker hole of having Adam after him, and having this creature having to walk around among him and living in constant fear. And I feel like it's both selfish and reckless, because you did not know what was going to happen. You had no justifiability to play God, in a sense. And I think that's something that Mary Shelley really, again, dives deep into his religion, is because it's like, he's trying to play God. He is trying to bring life. He's trying to make life. And he's trying to make it, oh god, I'm so sorry. He's trying to make this all come to life, and it collapses on him, and it's so meaningless in the end. And then, I'm gonna move on it. So then I also have, how does Victor's relationship with his creation, the creature, evolve throughout the novel, and what does it reveal about his character? Again, it is fear. That is all. There is no real, I mean, there is a relationship that eventually does happen, and it starts happening, but Victor sees his creature not as a being that he has created, but more as a thing. That kind of thing that it's just not, it's just very, again, he's very selfish, very narcissistic, I guess. Like, not I guess, I believe that he's very narcissistic in his ways and his actions. But you also have how his anxiousness, his fear, it takes over him. That's something that I find interesting, is what you see in the novel is that this fear devours him. It engulfs him. It's so beautiful, but so brutal. And that's something I myself struggle with, is anxiety. And it really is something that's so scary to me. Like, I can barely stream. I can barely do anything. It's so funny to me because it's like, you know what? I should be doing things to help my channel grow. I should be doing things to help myself. And then this anxiety pops in. It's, who's gonna watch? Who's gonna like your content? Who's gonna be interested in Victor Frankenstein? Come on, really, tell me who. And I just have to remind myself, I am so interested in this, and I love it. But the thing with Victor is that he lost sight of that. He lost sight of things and let that fear consume him. Like, he really let it get to him, to a point where he couldn't even recognize his own creature for himself. And then, again, we're going back to Victor's mental state of it all. It's just like, the consequences of his actions, he released a monster. And he ended up killing his own little brother, not to mention, but also terrorizing an entire town. Like, there's no way that Victor could really do things like this. It's like, Victor, you have to take responsibility. You have to own for your actions and for what you've done. And he doesn't. He really doesn't. I mean, he's guilt-ridden and everything, but he locks himself away. He keeps hiding from it, and he doesn't know what to do. And it's so interesting. You know, I just love it. I just love it so much. And then, how does Victor's, his real abandonment of the creature reflect deeper into the themes of responsibility and morality? I think that the responsibility of a human being is a lot. And Victor thinking that he can ditz around and play God with it is insane. It's just crazy to me. Can you imagine just being like, I read some pseudosciences and I figured out how to create life. You want to know how? And it's this spark, and he finds it. And I mean, technically, you can argue about the spark. You can definitely argue about the spark of life. But it's always fun to imagine. Because it's always in the movies, it's always in TV, it's always the spark of life. Just so you know, I'm quoting Monster High. with Sparky. I'm so sorry, I'm like, yes, this is where it's really coming from. But it's just so interesting. You know what would have been... Okay, I'm gonna get off topic again for like the 50th time tonight. But it would have been so funny if instead of Frankenstein's monster in Hotel Transylvania, it would have been just Victor, and he'd just be there. And... because the thing is that I don't see Adam as the monster. I see Victor more as the monster. because he creates a life that he does not know how to take care of. He abandons the creature, and the creature ends up going on a rampage. Like, there's no sense in it. And then Victor's like, I'm going to hunt him till the ends of the earth to kill him once and for all. And I think it's so interesting that he wants to take that life away from a creature that he's abandoned over and over again. And that his own morals and his own responsibility to this creature are questioned throughout the entire book, because it's like, did you really want to create him, or did you want to prove people wrong? But again, I think he just wanted to prove people wrong, and that he was right, because again, I feel like Victor is very narcissistic in that way, and he wants people to know that he is great. He wants people to know his name. Yet, his fear and anxiety keep him from different things, and I think it's interesting when you look more into that, like, rationality, if you think about it. And then, I think it's interesting, like, to what extent is Victor a tragic figure, and how does his hubris ultimately lead to his downfall? Well, again, I'm like, we're going back to the same question, it feels like, every time. The creature was not only his downfall, it was his greatest accomplishment, yet he let it be his downfall. He let Adam be his downfall. Well, actually, it's more like madness. He let madness be his downfall, because my god, was that man obsessed. And then, something that really did not help him was his isolation he put himself in. I think there's this thing for me, and it's to be truly alone. Do you feel lonely, or do you feel alone? It's a very different concept, because if you are alone, you choose to be alone. And if you feel lonely, it means you miss things. But for Victor, he really locked himself away. And as we can probably tell, what that does to someone after a pandemic of isolation and leaving behind society, you can think, well, first off, this man has no technology other than letters, let that be a reminder, but that isolation just, it deepens, and the guilt, it eats at you, it eats, and it rots you to your very core. And it's absolutely horrible when you really think about it. I think that's the hardest thing to think about, is that guilt of just everything on top of Victor would just eat at you. It really eats at you. I feel guilt for things that I don't even know I do. But also, if you think of anxiety, you think about the anxieties that Victor had. You think of how, if you've ever had anxiety, how do you feel? How do you treat it? For me, it's more like, it's something that paralyzes me sometimes, and you sit and you wallow, and it's so terrible, and you feel like you can do nothing, and there is nothing that you can do to, like, combat it. And then Victor, his isolation from society, and his wallowing, and his self-pity, and everything just eats away at him. For me, I feel like I would definitely go mad from that, and it's interesting as we see him go through, and it's just more and more of the same thing, and it's just him going slowly insane. And it's very impressive how Mary Shelley writes it. I absolutely love it. But I will also continue with this. In what ways does Victor's story parallel or reflect the broader societal anxiety of Shelley's time, such as the consequences of scientific advancement and the pursuit of knowledge? Which is a very fun question for me. The pursuit of knowledge. Oh, how it is a forbidden fruit for so many. Again, religious ties. I am sorry for bringing this up again. I grew up very religious. I am no longer, but I can notice it when it's hitting me in the face. Real quick, I gotta take a sip of water. So, we have to look back at really what was going back in the time of Mary Shelley. This is where my part of my memory gets foggy and where I need to do more research into my own work. But what I do know is that the Industrial Revolution is on the rise, and more things start happening. People are losing their jobs, different things are happening, there is a fear in society, and there is an anxiety that's happening. It's terrifying. You could lose your job, you could find something like a replacement. Look how can I explain this? The Industrial Revolution, it's the age of automatons, which is very interesting to me because it's these robots, or it's these equipment, I should say, the equipment that is making things for people and producing, and we have the emergence of factories and different things, and you see it more and more that people in factories are no longer needed because they're taking in this equipment that can easily replace them. And I look at modern society today, which is super interesting, and at the way AI is kind of affecting us in the same way. And it's like, how can we stop it if they couldn't even stop the Industrial Revolution from happening because of how many people losing their jobs? And the only reason they really got them back was because of the war, which we will not get into because that is not really Mary Shelley's whole thing. Or at least that's what I know. I'm like, we're not gonna get into World War I right now. I can, but I won't. Oh, what the heck, I will. I want to. I'm just gonna say this. It was against 3 cousins and I thought it was funny. Oh, that's bad. It really is about 3 cousins and just how insane it was. I mean, it's just, again, it's crazy. World War I was crazy. World War II was even worse. Oh god, it was even worse. But we will not get into that again. I just thought that the 3 cousins thing was kind of funny because imagine just like, I feel like World War I was a lot more friendly. Which is such a weird thing to say. Oh, I just thought it was a little bit more friendly. Yeah, you think? Because again, 3 cousins against each other, what are they gonna really do? What are they gonna really do to each other? Well, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do to each other. I don't know. But again, going back into like the pursuit of knowledge and things that happen with Victor, it's very interesting if you look into it more and you look into the fascination that it truly is in kind of a thing that happens. And honestly, I really like it, and it's just so weird. Because again, in what ways does Victor's story really parallel it? And it's just something I really like looking into little bit by bit, you know? It's always fun. And I promise you, I will be next. I'm gonna die. Next time I will be more prepared for things like this. Today was crazy. I had so much stuff going on for my own thing. It was a lot. I had so much going on for no reason. But that's fine. You know what I mean? But it's completely okay. So, I think it might be time for bed for me tonight because I am talking crazy tonight. And I mean I'm talking crazy. But I will say that I am going to be bringing up more things in the future, just letting you know and kind of telling you that I'm really excited for everything going to happen. But the one thing I will say is that I definitely will be more prepared in the future because I feel like I was less prepared than I really should have been today because I feel bad. That's where it really is I feel bad that I was less prepared than I really should have been. But I promise I'll make it up to you, and I promise I'll do better. But also, I promise I'm gonna actually try and make some TikToks soon. Or like something weird. This is more so for myself to convince myself to do it, because if I say it here, it's going to have to turn into a reality sometime, right? Right? No, it's not. I promise you it won't. But it should be more interesting next time, and hopefully next time we might actually be talking about Dracula, because that is right now my current read. I just wanted to talk about Victor because I thought it was interesting, different things that I found on him, and different things that have happened recently in the kind of like the Industrial Revolution with AI, and just more discovering and configuring things and looking into new heights. But a lot more dedication will go into my next stream for Dracula, just chatting. But on Wednesday, if you want to join me, I'm going to try and play a dating game, I think. We will figure it out. Since it is Valentine's Day, I think I might try and do a little something special for everyone and for myself because I'm a little bored with everything. But it should be fun. And then the other thing is that I want to say good night, my lovelies, and I will probably see you soon again. If I can actually figure out how to end this stream, because my goodness, am I not great at this? But that is completely fine. Let me see what we can do with everything. But again, I just hope that you have a wonderful night and that you are doing good, and if you ever need anything, just let me know because I will always try to be there for people. In whatever way you need. In reality, I have no idea if this is making sense to myself because it is currently a little too early or too late for me to be going to bed tonight because I stayed up way too late last night and now I'm doing this. So this has been Emmi Labyrinth signing off because I am now rambling like a mad person. Alright, now it is officially good night, my lovelies. Damn, I tried. I'm really trying here. Come on. That's what I forgot.